Thank you. Distinguished audience, Mr. Peter Vosser and Philip Esinger of the St. Gallen Foundation for International Studies, Right Honorable leaders here present, members of the International Students Committee, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere thanks for the invitation to speak to you today. The St. Gallen Symposium is a very special gathering which I am honored to participate in. Let me congratulate the student leaders from the University of St. Gallen for the originality of this year's theme, Proudly Small. It has never occurred to me to be either proud or embarrassed of hailing from a small place. Nor do I believe that small entities are inherently better or worse than larger ones. All groups, after all, are made up of individuals, one after another. This is the deeper meaning behind abstract concepts like inclusiveness. Every person counts. What they think matters. But there is no doubt that physical size is a factor in how a country or a business responds to threats and opportunities. I will have more to say about this later, but I would like to start with the case I know best, the story of my own country. Today, Rwanda is a country transformed physically, economically, and socially. But there is no way to ignore where we started from in 1994. When 100 days of genocide was stopped by the Rwandan Patriotic Front, 1 million Rwandans lay dead. Around 15% of the population. More than 2 million people, in fact, close to 3, had fled to neighboring countries where they lived under the control of the militias and politicians who had carried out the genocide and openly declared the intention to complete it. Public services in Rwanda no longer existed. The economy was destroyed and the treasury had been looted. Yet, the new government was still expected to repay the huge external debts that had been used to finance the carnage. We were starting from less than zero. To most observers, Rwanda seemed unlikely to even survive as a nation, much less recover, reconcile, and prosper. Our first tasks were to restore security, address the humanitarian catastrophe, and form a government of national unity made up of all surviving political forces that had not aligned with the genocide. A thorough and honest reckoning with the darkest corners of our past was equally urgent if we were not to repeat it. We also needed a shared narrative about the future. Consensus could not be imposed from above, much less parachuted in from outside. People from all walks of life began to meet, officially and unofficially, to identify concrete solutions rooted as much as possible in our own culture and traditions. These consultations eventually reached every village in the country and culminated in the 2003 Constitution, which was drafted essentially by citizens, not by experts. As a result, almost any Rwandan can tell you where the country is headed and why. Let me tell you about two specific examples before coming back to the symposium's central question. First, how we handled justice and reconciliation. Hundreds of thousands of Rwandans were directly involved in the killings. By 1997, the refugees had been brought home from exile. The prison population swelled. No justice system in the world could have coped with 1 million or more simultaneous murder trials. We had to try something radically new. But punishment could not be our only objective. People needed to know what exactly had happened to loved ones. Survivors, perpetrators, and bystanders would have to live and work together again, side by side, for the rest of their lives. Revealing the truth and strengthening national unity were equally important. The mechanism we devised, Gacaca, was rooted in traditional practice of public dispute resolution that every Rwandan could relate to. For 10 years, every community in Rwanda came together once a week, and justice was rendered by those most concerned. The communities themselves, arbitrated by local leaders elected for fairness and honesty. Around a quarter of cases resulted in acquittal. Offenders who told the full truth and expressed sincere remorse were often sentenced to time served. The Gacaca jurisdiction dealt with 2 million cases at a total cost of $50 million US. Tens of millions of handwritten pages from these proceedings have been preserved for future generations. By way of comparison, the United Nations International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, ICTR, spent close to $1.5 billion over 20 years to convict 65 people. The second example is our effort to build a stable and a democratic constitutional order. The genocide was a political project of the state, perversely justified in terms of courts' majority rule, but in reality based on a crude racial ideology with roots in the colonial period. We could never again allow the democratic process to be hijacked by political entrepreneurs bent on gaining total power by pitting one Rwandan against another. Our approach to governance reflects the utter seriousness of that endeavor. One, power must be shared. No party, however strong, can make up more than 50% of cabinet. The President of the Republic and the Speaker of Parliament must represent different parties. Decisions have to be reached through dialogue and consensus. Two, the fight against genocide ideology and divisionism is a public duty. No party may seek support by appealing to region, ethnicity, religion, or any other arbitrary social distinction. Politics has to be inclusive and national in scope. Three, communities are best placed to know their own priorities and hold government accountable for results. Service delivery has been decentralized, and there are many occasions throughout the year where citizens speak directly to leaders about what is not working and what is. Believe me, Rwandans do not hold back when they have complaints. Our experience has taught us that confrontation, anger, and division are not at all the essence of democracy. That style of politics may be a fun game in certain countries, but in others, it is a matter of life or death. In Rwanda, public opinion will not stand for it. Yet, we are constantly being told that there is something wrong with us for putting national unity at the heart of our system of governance. Let me try to present you the example of Switzerland, a useful point of comparison in this regard. Your country's principles of concordance, collegiality, and direct democracy have resulted in more than 150 years of stability, prosperity, and unity. The consensual approach obviously has something to recommend it. This leads us back to the central questions raised in this symposium. Let me start with a plain truth. There are small countries, but there are no small peoples. It follows that thinking big and acting big are choices available to all of us. Size is not destiny, but I can think of two ways in which Rwanda's relative smallness works to our advantage. First, it makes it easier for us to innovate. There are no off-the-shelf remedies to our predicament. We had no choice but to experiment with new ideas and bring the ones that worked to scale as quickly as possible. It is no accident that many of the biggest and most innovative companies in the world today began as small startups in someone's garage and without the constraints of bureaucracy and precedent. Original thinking can flourish. In a way, Rwanda is like a collection of startup governance institutions whose mission is to solve problems and create new opportunities. If we were bigger, our approach maybe would have been more conventional and less effective. Second, when you are small, it is a lot easier to get everyone involved. In our culture, as in most others, there is no substitute for talking face to face. Personal interactions remain essential method for building trust in society and changing mindsets such that ambitious visions actually get translated into the billions of choices that citizens collectively make each and every day about their health, finances, and security. So yes, there are benefits to being small, but there is a big catch too. It means you are too small, or it means you are also small enough to fail. A mistake that a large entity could absorb can completely wipe out your company or erase all your country's development gains or even plunge you into war. Small places have much less room for error. No one will rush to bail you out. In the grand scheme, the fate of a small place only really matters to the people who live in it. We have to be responsible for ourselves. No amount of success will ever fully dilute the risk. Well, there are examples, if I may dare to give one. Iceland, for example, is as advanced a country as any. But its prosperity was nearly destroyed during the financial crisis. There are the realities I have in mind whenever I remind Rwandans that nobody owes us anything, and that we can never afford to take our progress for granted. We must always strive to become better and better versions of ourselves. Greatness is a choice available to any person, organization, or nation. Big countries are capable of thinking small and acting small. Small countries can think big and act big, which is to say, with dignity and respect for others. In Rwanda, we found answers appropriate to our context, but the principles we used to arrive at them apply more generally. Include everyone, build consensus, take responsibility, be accountable for results. In Rwanda, or if Rwanda can transcend its tragic history, then anyone can. No matter how intractable today's global challenges may seem, we should meet them with confidence and optimism. More than ever, we are all in the fight together. Globalization means that opportunities spread faster and farther, but threats move just as aggressively, whether we are talking of pandemics, terrorist ideologies, transnational crime, or stock market panics. Big or small, we inhabit the same small world, and so we have to make the right choices for the right reasons for ourselves and for each other. I thank you for your kind attention, and also once again for the generous invitation to address this symposium. I look forward to continuing this discussion today and wish everyone fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. President. That was terrific. Really terrific.